Hey everybody, it's Mark from Northeast Bass Fishing. How you doing? I have a few clips here from fishing the other day, and I want to just kind of make this more of a so-called teaching video on how to tackle a new lake. So this is a new lake I'd never fished before, and if you look in the distance on this clip, that's where the launch area is. So I went all the way around that shoreline you see in that far, got all the way around to this other side before I actually got my first decent bass in the boat. And that's a decent largemouth on a drop shot. I was just throwing the flatworm on the point there. And that was like the first good fish I got after about hour, 15 minutes, maybe an hour and a half of fishing this new lake. So, don't get discouraged. Keep working. What I did is I started shallow. I always tend to work a new lake inside to the outside. So I started on the shoreline. I was making, semi-long casts to the bank with my fluke, topwater baits, nothing. I did get, a couple little smallies that hit the fluke. I don't even think I got them in the boat, but they were like maybe 10-inch fish. So when I got all the way around to the other side of the lake and got to this point where you can see this view now, this point, this I believe is the second fish I caught. And my back view on this is you see a nice fish. This is the best fish of the day. I didn't have the camera angled right. I had it too far up and too far out. I should have had it a little more pointed in and a little more pointed towards the water. But this here, I just wanted you to get those jumps in on the far view. This is the best fish of the day. This is the same point I pulled out and started working it more with that drop shot. And that's a nice smallie. So here I am an hour and a half in. I finally catch that largemouth on a drop shot. I had to get away from the bank. There was nothing going on that I found in the bank. And if you see that cove to the right there, there was a decent amount of pads in there. I was throwing a frog in there. Nothing going on. I get to this point, throw the drop shot. I catch that largemouth that you saw before in the previous clip. And now I've caught the big smallie here, which turns out to be my best fish of the day. Now, I did not have my scale with me. I would guess he was somewhere between that 3.5 to 4 pound range. This is not a big lake. This is like a 90 to 100 acre lake. And as I said, I have never fished this lake before in my life. So if you start fishing shallow, it's not working, pull out to the deeper water. I was out probably in 15 or 20, throwing up to maybe 10 and working that drop shot back to the boat. And I started to get some bites. And as you see, you guys will see this clip is going to end in a second. The new one will start. But this is the best fish by far of the day. I caught some other decent fish, but this one was definitely the nicest fish of the day. So there he is. Nice chunky smallie on that flatworm. Drop shot. I think it's a 1/4 ounce drop shot weight. Your traditional drop shot setup. And a nice smallie. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I figured it out. I'm going to just, catch these big smallies the rest of the day. Now, it didn't work out that day. I did catch some more smallies that were nice, but nothing compared to this one. So I can see this lake being pretty good springtime, jerkbait fishing. As I did see some big beds, so there's got to be some big fish in there making some big beds. So you can see that's a nice smallie right there. Nice chunky 3.5 to 4 pound smallie. I don't know exactly how big he was. Like I said, I did not have my scale, but he was a good chunk. So as I've been saying, don't be afraid to work out into deeper water. I always start shallow, see what's going on. After an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, I realize that wasn't the deal. Now, of course, we're here in August, summertime, so-called dog days, even though it was a pretty cool day. It wasn't overly hot. Now, maybe if it was super sunny and bright and hot, maybe those pads would have been better. But these fish seem to me to be, largemouth and smallmouth, seem to be in that 10 and deeper range. And the deepest I saw might have been 30 feet in the lake, but I think the majority of the deeper water is in that 20-foot range. So here I'm throwing a net around, and pretty much the Ned and the drop shot were the way to go. And you can see I'm off the bank, and I threw that one out there, and that fish hit it the second it got to the boat. I don't remember if this is the one that gets off right next to the boat or if I get him in. We'll see in a second. I just chucked that net out there, and he got on it quick. And the way it kind of went the rest of the day, it was like I would catch a couple, and then nothing. Then I'd move a little bit, find another area, catch a couple, and then it would kind of go slow. So I think if I, as I said, it's a small lake. If I just kept working around and around the lake, no, I did get him, a little smallmouth. If I just kept working in that 10 to 15 to 20 foot range and just kept working it around, I probably might have even got a few more. But it was still a pretty decent day, especially for the first time being on the lake. That's just on the Ned. Another smallie there. Nowhere near as big as that other one, but a decent. He might have been a 12-incher. This might be the one. We'll see in a sec. There's another fish, and you can see it's kind of the same area. I know there was one fish who took me out deep and then came flying back in, and I think he got off. And I believe that was a largie. But as you guys can see, I'm out away from the bank. This area right here in the lake is pretty rocky. I did see some like big rock piles coming out. You could see the rocks on my my 2D sonar. And these fish, even the ones that weren't that big, were pretty strong. So it's a nice little lake, decent ramp, especially for my little boat. Just a gravel ramp. So I don't know if this guy pops off. If he pops off right here, this is the one. Yep. Oh no, I actually got him. So a nice little largie. Another decent keeper. So I was starting to kind of put together a pattern. And I'm starting to have some confidence that I'm going to get some bites by getting away from that shoreline. Anytime I go up shallow and just kind of check to see what it looked like, it's pretty clear lake, and you can see there's no fish there. There was really not much going on there in the shallows. At least I got there around, I'd say 6:45 in the morning. Fished till around 1:30. Here's I believe that smallie again, just the other view, this camera view here, which actually was better. I think the way I had the camera set up in the back of the boat was a little off, so you can see that smallie up closer. It's really almost like I didn't really have the back camera on, so I had it set up in a different spot in the back of the boat. I have to get that adjustment down to where it has the best view. He didn't want a long picture taken. So I'm going to assume that this next clip is going to be the close-up of that largie that I caught before. But just staying off the bank, not casting necessarily towards the bank, but parallel to it in that 10-foot or deeper, where I couldn't see the bottom. Because like as I said, it was pretty clear water. So just kind of casting and working that area around. And you could feel the rocks down there, and I could feel the Ned. At this point, I don't know if I still have the Ned on. I'll be able to tell better after it gets this fish in the boat. This is that largie that was running me in and out and in and out. I think this is still a Ned. I can't tell. But I believe that's still a Ned there, and he's eating. That little tool there, I forget the name of it. That's really great if they got that hook down a little deeper and you want to just pop it out. But decent largie. Not a bad fish at all. Another keeper. Here's a small, I caught him on the other side of the boat. So you didn't really see me set the hook. I just kind of threw out to the left of the boat. And right now, you can see that. I don't know if you can see that bait clearly. That is the Bounty Hunter Custom Baits, the Versa worm. And that's just on a Ned head. And that's a bait that I really like to throw. And I haven't thrown it that much this season, and I had him on the boat. So I wanted to give it a try and did very well with him. Did very well. And I just had that on a regular Ned head. So if you guys have never looked at Bounty Hunter Custom Baits, check them out online on Instagram and their website. And they make their own worm called the Versa worm. And it's great on a Ned. And I finally, pulled them out and started using them and started catching some nice fish. So that's the second best smallie I caught. So now you see, I had gone back around the lake again. I went back to that point where I caught the big smallie, and I got nothing, which I was surprised. I thought maybe it would reload. But I started working this shoreline again and started catching a few more fish. You can see it's later in the afternoon. It was getting a little hot out. Now this might be the guy who gets off. This was a nice largie. Not a monster, but a pretty good largie. And, once I get them close to the boat like that, I don't really, it's not like it's a tournament or anything. If they get off, I don't really care. It would have been nice to get a picture of them, get a better video of him, but I think this might be where he's like, you can see it pop right out. He's like, I don't want to be on film. And he swims and pops, and the bait's going to go flying up in the air. I'm pretty sure this is him, and boop, there goes the bait, and the fish is gone. So, and this is just right down a little further. You can see that big house in the back there. That area along there has some nice rocks. That back side of the lake, up to the next shoreline, has some nice rocks. So when I go there again, I will definitely work that area a little harder. And I even went out in the deeper water, threw the football head jig around, threw the Carolina rig around, even, which I don't like to do, but I like the Carolina rig when it's a little more windy out. It was pretty calm all day, and there's a lot of I wouldn't say the lake has any heavy grass, but it has a lot of that little bit, that grass everywhere, from no matter what depth. And the Carolina rig and the football heads were getting pretty covered up with the weeds. I had to pick it off the bait on every cast, so that wasn't really the deal, at least on this day. And I couldn't tell if I think that was just another smallie. Yep, another decent smallie. We'll get a better view of him in a second when I show you the other camera view of that. But another decent fish. And I think at some points of the day I almost kind of forgot I had the back camera going, because I was kind of ignoring. Usually I kind of hold the fish up for both, but I was kind of forgetting that I even had the back camera going. Now this might be, we'll see if this is the might pops off. You might get a better view of him of popping off, or if it's the smallie. We'll see in a sec. But this shoreline, like I said, has some nice chunk rock on it. Seemed to hold, it was better area than the other areas in the lake. And that's what I think. I think they were just down there by those rocks, because that one smallie, that previous one, the second biggest one, when I caught him, he was definitely spitting up craws. He spit up at least 3 or 4 pieces of crayfish in the water. I was going to actually grab it with a net, but it sunk. After getting him out of the water, it sunk before I had a chance to get it. So here's that smallie, just a little closer up shot of another decent smallie. And I believe that's still the Versa worm I'm using. It might have been time to change the worm, because I think he might have tore it off on that jump. But another decent smallie. So it's turned out to be a pretty decent day. There's a couple little fish that I didn't show you guys. This might be the last fish of the day. And this largey kind of bit. I threw it to the left side of the boat. And this is the fish I think it is. He was a pretty good largey. This, I believe, was the best largey at largemouth of the day. So my guess is that there's some pretty decent. I already know that there's some good-sized smallies. I'm guessing there's some pretty good-sized largies in there, too. Because the couple that I did catch were pretty good. And they're still a little skinny. They got to start eating up. But if they were full, they'd be pretty good-sized fish. And they would. This one hit from the left side of the boat. He went back to the right side, and back to the left, and he was all over the place. They were strong. They were strong fish. You can see the Monadnock Mountains over there. Nice view. So I didn't, with that light line and small bait, I'll try to use the net just so I don't lose them. But I think this is the best largey of the day. That other one that got off was pretty decent too. So he might have been, I wouldn't say he was 3 pounds, but he was a nice healthy fish. If he was full, he could be 3 maybe, but I don't think he was in the summertime. And I think you'll get a better view of him here in a second. Because as I said, I have a bad angle on this back camera here, and it's like I forgot I even had it going because I wasn't showing the fish to it well. This might be a better view of that last largey. So you can see I'm away from the bank. I'm out in that 15, 20 feet of water, just working the bottom with those Ned heads and that drop shot. In the later part of the day, the Ned seemed to be, working better. Now, I might, if I threw the drop shot, would I have caught them? Probably, maybe. But who knows? So here's the fish, the last fish of the day. That was one of the better ones of the day. So finished strong with a nice largey. Get a good view of him here. I don't keep them out of the water very long. There's that Versa worm. It's that black with that, or I'm sorry, that brown with that orange. And so a nice largie. But like I said, I don't think it was a 3-pounder, but it was a decent fish. Next time I'll remember my scale. So here's just a couple pictures from the lake. That's like me just taking a picture out from the dock. There's the boat at the ramp there. So as you see, it's just a dirt ramp. Another picture of the lake. And then I got a short video. There was a lot of loons around the lake, which are so cool. And these two just popped up right next to the boat. And usually the minute I take a camera out, they go under. So these two were kind of swimming around. And then the baby, I assume that's mom and dad, and the baby loon popped up right there next to the boat. And they kind of sat there for about a minute or two. And there was a lot of loons around the lake talking to each other all day. Pretty cool. Nice little lake. So, as I said, guys, if you go to a new lake and you're in the first hour or two, things aren't going your way, don't get discouraged. Just change your tactics. I started shallow. I always start shallow on a new lake and work my way out. And here's some pictures of the fish. So work your way out to deeper water. That was the ticket. Get into that 10, 15, 20-foot range and try your baits. You have faith in those conditions and those depths. For me, it was the drop shot and the nets. And I was throwing just the regular Ned on there, like a 1/4-ounce Ned head, and the Versa worm. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Any questions on anything, let me know. And I will definitely see you soon on YouTube. Mark out.